surprising. And many people felt, well, maybe our politics is changing. That the MPs do not feel that they owe their life in parliament, in the politics, or in government to the president. And then suddenly, they go and agree. Some say, well, that's how reasonable people conduct themselves. Some say, we are not at a point where you should be saying you are acting reasonable because it's long overdue. What will be your judgment of this group if their request is not acceded to and they still do not carry out what they have promised?
Thank you, Samson. My initial point is my judgment of them will be that they took a very risky gamble, number one. So, of course, they are MPs. They do report to their constituency, as everyone has said so far, and including Habib himself. But they do owe their leader, who is the current president, some respect and so forth. But one would have expected that being reasonable people, and I hear you use that term, and for me, that's where I'm coming from, reasonableness. You go to the president with very valid points because you are concerned about the future of your party. Your party's future goes beyond his presidency. You are concerned about the economy. You are concerned about your people. And yet, when he asks you to stand down and wait for an action that will take place either right after budget or after an IMF deal is concluded, and from what we are seeing, it is possible there won't be an IMF deal until early next year. So which timeline is it that you're going with? And that surprises me, talking about surprises. So I think that the MPs went to meet the president and something radically changed, which put down even their own conviction. Because when they were going, they gave us the impression that they were convinced. So what changed? Clearly, signals had to be sent to the market and to the people. You went, and now those signals are not being sent. There has to be a change of the economic team. This team is no longer credible. This is a team that has lied not only to the people of Ghana outside your party, but they've also lied to you. And the IMF has found them out. The numbers they gave, the macroeconomic numbers they gave, were not correct. You have found that out. I am also surprised that as president, when you now find out that others, external partners, have found that your numbers are not correct and credibility issues have come, you will still want to keep the manager of the economy who created the situation at post to continue the negotiations with the IMF who have found him out. Clearly, they have no respect for him.
In fact, part of the grounds they raised was that it is not tenable for Ken Ofori-Atta, who said, hell no, we will not go to IMF, to be leading the delegation in the discussions. Mr. Kwame Pianim has said almost the same thing and says what is happening portends very badly for the party itself, like you said a while ago.
And for the people, because we even heard Mr. Nyamike on one of your programs also saying that someone who is reluctant to go into the IMF, how can he negotiate? But for me, even more important is someone who lacks credibility. And you all found that out when the IMF negotiations began. At this point, there isn't going to be a board approval soon. It will be staff level. So it's going to be hard times because it's going to be assisting them to get to the point where a debt sustainability assessment can be correct or not. Now, for me, I wonder that these NPP MPs, 80 or more of them, and this morning we are hearing Habib saying, in fact, it's all of them who don't want the situation to continue. It's not personal, but they don't want it to continue. If all of you say this, how can one person, whether he's a big authority or not, is still one person, change all of you's mind to wait until a time when you don't even know what the response will be, when the nation is at risk, the reputation of the whole nation is at risk, and our economic future is also at risk. The people of Ghana have started to suffer. You showed some interview of people speaking about eating once a day, struggling, transport. I mean, it cuts across the nation. And yet you think you should humor the president and wait until after the budget or after an IMF deal is agreed, which could be next year, to make your decision. You have failed your constituency. To Habib and the rest of your MPs, I tell you that you have failed your constituency. And you continue to perpetuate stories and lies that Ken Ofori-Atta was doing well as minister from 2017 to 2020. That is not true. He was under an IMF program that we began. Therefore, he was complying to an extent. He got out of that program, and immediately the problems started. These problems are not because of COVID or Ukraine. Even the World Bank has said it. Ghana was already at risk. Even when we were leaving office, there was some level of risk. And that's why we were in an IMF program. We didn't go into the program because we were doing so well. There were problems, and that's why we went in. Ken Ofori-Atta and his team got out of it. Reckless expenditure, government expenditure, reckless signals to the market by borrowing anyhow and showing no assets for it. And today we are where we are. You represent your constituencies, and you are still humoring one man who could bring your party down. There are people in your party, I can assure you, who are not MPs, but who want to see this party continue. And even for the NDC, we want to see democracy continue. And that's why John Mahama made it clear that he also calls upon the security agencies to be loyal to the constitution. We don't want any more coup d'etats. We want a democratic governance. And therefore, please,
But why has that call become necessary? Because we knew that some time ago when we used to have this military, adventure.
Yes, it always set us back.
Whenever there were, some inflationary issues and the economy went bad, then the military will step in.
That's right.
But we know that that's not not the situation we live in anymore.
Yes.
So why is it that the president and President Mahama, you are all asking the military to stay back and be committed?
They're asking the military to stay back so that the democratic governance that we have journeyed on to date will continue. And it is for that reason that we ask the MPP MPs to do right, not to pretend to do right. Actually, I believe that they were not pretending. Let me take that back. They were not pretending when they started. They were really on fire. And as you said, a lot of people commended them for it. It is a pity that when they went to meet the president, they humored him and therefore stood down as he asked them to. One was expecting that they would continue. And in fact, for the sake of Ghana, because the situation now is time sensitive, Samson, the situation will not be the same by early next year. It is time sensitive. We need to act now.
Right.
So for them to stand down is a real pity. And we hope that they will go back.